modelers. It's been here for a number of years now.
Established in 1992.
Yeah, I can remember I used to be with the Delaware and Rutland next door when this was a pillow factory.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, and the folks moved out, and I heard that you guys were moving in.
Yes.
And I think I came here once on a convention tour.
Yes.
In the process of building at that time, but there's been a lot of progress since. So you must have a lot of enthusiastic modelers that enjoy coming
forward. We keep pushing forward with our different, pick a town and do a whole town at a time, and work through it. Trying to do the station and freight shed and express building as close to reality as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then 90% of the industries are named correctly,
Yes.
but not necessarily represented correctly because of real estate issues.
Okay, so when you're looking at compression and all that sort of thing, you're still dealing with an area in Ontario, I would suggest here. So this is Canadian Pacific and Canadian National Railway in Ontario?
Yep, we represent the Lambton Yard
Yes.
in West Toronto, which is right here on this side.
Right.
The far end of the railway is London.
Okay.
So we represent the Galt sub, circa 1955, and the Brampton subdivision, which was 1955. The towns alternate back and forth, and then we share the same main line. Even with 1,600 square feet of space,
Yes.
we cannot have two individual main lines for each railway, so we share a main line between them.
So the main line is a single track with passing sidings,
Correct.
that sort of thing?
It's built as a way freight layout.
Yes.
We use Smith's, a version of Smith's car card system.
Mm-hmm.
Each card has a card. Each card has a possibility to have a waybill. Trains go out, delivered to the industries, the waybills get turned over, can be coming back to a CP, like a CAP train can have CP deliveries, or it comes back to the main yard to be sent over to CN, remarshalled, and then sent out for delivery.
So it's kind of interesting when you look at establishing a club like this and in an industrial building, that was there an original group of people that suddenly decided that they wanted to get together? How did that happen?
6 guys came out of Scarborough Model Railroaders.
Yes.
And it was the chance, from there it was an established layout.
Yes.
This was a chance to build fresh,
Sure.
brand new. So, and we collected a whole bunch of other guys at that same time, and we came up with a good core bunch of modelers.
Yeah.
And then we all had the same vision, 1953 to 1957, Southern Ontario, and that's where we built towards.
Now, interestingly, when you look at model railroading today, it has moved through a lot of changes and developed in electronics and DCC systems and things like that, but you had decided to stick with the DC program.
We have stayed with the DC program. We've been toying with DCC, but we have to come up with a consensus at this point. But right now everything's built as, we have a throttle that does do DCC work, but right now the majority of the club is DC operation. Okay.
And so how does it operate? Do you have like yard operators and mainline operators?
2 yards, the mainline trains, there's 5 panels up top.
In a gondola kind of situation,
where the mainline guys can run, and then each individual town has throttles, and we also have wireless throttles. The way freighters can go out and work their way freights.
How does everybody communicate then from place to place?
Keeping an eye open. I have a timetable. We haven't actually implemented it as of any time yet, but we have a timetable. We haven't built the fast clocks at this point in time.
Okay.
But we do have a timetable that's fleshed out from the real timetables.
So it's the Mother May I kind of system in terms of going from place to place?
Go from town to town, basically. You can see that you're clear. You just keep working town to town through your way freighting.
Sure.
And then eventuality would be the main line, the timetable would be there for everybody to look at and clear for the timings of the mainline trains.
One thing I noticed that was pretty unique about this layout is the quality of the rolling stock and the modeling. The members each must have a huge amount of skill sets.
We have done a lot of modeling through photographs.
Yes.
We have not, there's very few ready direct.
So you have a lot of resin cars.
Yes, we built a lot of resin cars, plus we took a lot of intermountain cars before True Line came out with their 10-foot car. And we actually cast roofs, cast ends, did the proper doors and did a custom work using Stafford Swain's article from RMC and Stafford Swain and Jim Little's article on CP cars. And we custom built all our CN and CP rolling stock steel cars.
Yes.
And then, yes, there's a lot of resin, vans, there's some brass, there's a lot of brass steamers on the club layout. That is one thing we try to replicate, is not just have diesels running all the time.
Sure.
Get the steamers out. Open houses, we try to keep everything rolling and try and make it look as realistic as possible. It's the idea is when they take that photograph, some people can't tell that it's a model, and it's truly looks real.
But there's an awful lot of time and effort that goes into that, I'd say.
Massive amounts of hours, yes.
Yeah.
This station alone took 1,000 hours.
Wow.
The Kitchener station built as it stood in 1955.
That includes all its freight sheds and everything around it,
Yeah,
eh?
the freight shed, a little smaller than what it would have been, but the express building, the station, all took about 1,000 hours of casting materials, drawing it just to get it right, because there's the station still stands, but the tower is long gone.
Yeah.
Removed in 56 or 57.
It's a fantastic job.
Oh, it's beautiful. Quite a few people want to buy it.
I bet. They can't afford it.
No, not the amount of time.
1,000 minimum wage, they can't afford it.
Yeah, even at minimum wage.
They don't pay us more than that, do they? I don't think so.
No, not even.
Now, the track plan.
Track plan was drawn by two guys, Mike
Yeah.
Mason and George Tompkins. It's fairly close to what was drawn.
Yes.
The only issue we had to, there's a diamond, was never actually going to be a diamond. Now that was separated, but we ended up having the diamond in there. Just didn't quite squeeze correctly.
Yeah, I guess you had to shorten some of the sidings and some of the track
Everything else
lines.
pretty much
Is it?
built as
Yeah.
it was drawn, because we measured
Yeah.
it all out. And then the track, all the turnouts are hand built by prior to Fast Track's idea. We used jigs and
Sure.
everything. So they're all hand built, and then a lot of the track is microengineering code 70. The whole layout is code 70. There was a time when we couldn't get any microengineering code 70 flex.
Yes.
So for that period of time, we just kept hand laying until they had more in stock. We cleaned Canada out of code 70 at one point.
Incredible.
And, built everything in place, and then paint it, ballast it, clean it, and then while the guys were working above, I would work below and do all the wiring, so we just kept moving along as a unit. And then the panels for the yards all have rotaries for different access points. But can be, this yard alone could have 4 different throttles running through it.
That's great. Lambton Yard, been there a few times.
Yeah, so we have the plans to the Lambton Roundhouse when we eventually get that part.
I love the track angles, the view. It looks great. You get to see pretty much everything.
Yep.
And this is pretty much to the prototype too, from what I remember. Kind of.
Close. There's
Yeah.
no stub tracks, but that's our passenger. We have the Canadian visiting.
Yes.
It would go by Lambton, but then it would go north. We, because it's such an iconic train, it gets to run around the layout.
Another Jason Sharon special. Huh?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of his stuff around here.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
So coming out of Lambton, you go up the big hill, I guess, eh?
Sort of, yeah.
Yes. You can sort of see it here.
Not really.
Always remember the prototype, right? You can hear those engines just thundering up, and you come to
CNR Milton.
CNR Milton.
So the CP trains pass through, but the CN trains work the town.
Yes.
Remember, Scratch built the Milton station. It still exists as a tourist information booth on Highway 25,
Yeah.
just south of the 401. So using measurements from our field trip and a couple of Oshomi plans, one member built that board by board to create Milton Station.
Very nice.
And then the freight shed is fairly close. The other structure in the back is our miniaturized versions of Robertson screw. The only thing we haven't built in there is the head house, which actually still stands. The rest of the mill at Robertson's crew is long gone, but the office building still stands. The co-op is still there. So we used photographs and our version thereof, and then a town scene in the background with farms.
I noticed that all of your rolling stock is weathered.
Yes.
It looks terrific.
Nothing looks shiny and new.
You know, that's for sure, but there's a certain quality to it that's distinctive, I think, especially when you look around the outside bracing and how it captures the shadowing and the darkness.
Well, the one good thing about a club environment is each person has their own favorite weathering techniques. So therefore, throughout the club consists, you have very different weathering techniques, but they're all weathered in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
And therefore, it has a variety of views as you look through the different things.
Yeah, and different colors of the same brown, which is nice.
Oh yes, we mixed and matched browns. That's the one good thing about painting and lettering your own equipment, is you can modify the colors so they're not uniform all the way through.
Yeah. You got a stockyard over here and some
we have a bunch of
lumber.
stockyards that need to be painted.
Yeah.
They're a hybrid of CN and CP and built to fit the spaces that we have. We're using a couple of different jigs. You'll see them scattered just because we love stock cars too. And
Yes.
each end of the railway, Lambton had massive meat packing plants.
Yes.
And that is one of our industries. So the towns would load the cattle, and we actually had some pigs, and then ship them off to the different meat packing plants.
Extraordinary.
In our lumber yard, with we cast up a collection of piles of lumber. Unfortunately, they're very uniform. We need to mix and match.
Just do them by piling up old boards.
Yes, we haven't.
Glue them together. You know, one thing I noticed when I first walked through the layout was the farm back there.
Yes.
That you have the distinctive colors of different fields of crop.
Yes, our scenery guy, Frank, is very good at, has a good eye for that kind of thing. So he beautifully done that farm scene.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, because typically you don't see that variation in color and texture.
No, you see a lot of the same greens, and same with the trees. We've tried to represent many different trees. There's a bunch done with the yarrow weed, which is a very woody weed that grows fairly tall, and you trim and cut. And then add the polyfiber, and then add the different colors.
Yes.
And then so we had many different trees, and we also painted all of the trunks many different colors. So we have birch, we have maple, we have oak. So it gives the trees a variety as well.
You can see the birches in there. Extraordinary.
Yeah,
And I see there's a lift out in the middle there,
yes,
too.
there is. That just in case something goes amok in the middle, there's a pop out, but it's fairly well disguised.
Yeah. A nice little industry here on the side.
A scrap dealer, somehow getting a lumber load.
It can happen, you know. Can never tell when you need some wood to fix some metal.
This will be the future town or station of Stratford. The footprint is there.
Need another 1,000 hours for that
that's
station.
even more. Oh, that's bigger.
Yeah.
But we have the footprint. We have actually, speaking to fellow model railroaders at one point, we said we were going to start working on Stratford at one point.
Yep.
And he said, hold on to that thought. And about 2 weeks later, he appeared at my door with a tube and said, give me $40. I said, okay. Then I opened the tube, 40 sheets of original plans for the Grand Trunk station in Stratford. As built as GTR, so it was beautiful to have those to work off of. Now it's going to be over 2.5 feet long as a station, so it's going to take quite a bit of work to get that done. But the different industries are all represented. We try to mix and match different, either scratch build or mix and match kits.
Couple Sylvan kits in the back there, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
Our track gang area. Now we're coming into Galt, CPR Galt. Unfortunately, the electric lines are not here, but this is our version, and the only thing we wanted, at one point we wanted Cooksville, because Cooksville had a brick plant, so
Yes.
to balance some of the traffic, we gave Galt a brick plant. And carved into it so it looks like it's hauling out clay and
Yeah.
different items. And then the rest of the industries are
Get your kilns.
correct. Yep, we got the kilns in there,
Were
piles of bricks.
those scratch built, the kilns?
No, those are actually
From a kit or something?
no from somebody. Yeah, well, they had to be painted.
Yeah.
But I forget who made them. It's quite some time ago.
Very nice.
And we have our beer truck.
Good
Nice
stuff.
Claire Gilbert. This side of the aisle, higher up, is Streetsville, which is very close. Streetsville and Milton should be flipped, but because of where how we want them alternating,
So you got your
is second.
CPR.
Yeah, so the CPR stops in here and does their work.
Yeah, and in fact, it looks like your plant over here is just located in the right spot from the road that comes up through the center of town.
Peel Seed.
Yeah.
So we did represent that industry in here. We got a little freight shed, the water tower, some houses. Dominion Door and Sash was in Streetsville.
But not the hobby shop.
No, we didn't build the hobby shop.
Couldn't even give you a discount for whatever if you did that. Just as a promotional tool. Sweet Cap cigarettes, boy. Very nice.
Yes, we try to have the advertising correct for our era. So little things like that.
Go a long way.
Go a long way. The semaphores on the stations. They do move, not mechanically. We just have fun resetting them.
Yes, 050 kind of thing.
Yeah, with hands. Another one of actually a painted stock pen.
There you go.
Should be whitewashed. That's this is the small town of Baden, which is between Stratford and Kitchener.
Yes, there's a lot of model railroads in Baden.
Yes, there is. They have great tours at the middle of March, end of March. But 2 photographs is all we had for the station. So that's one member through 2 photographs created scratch built the station.
Very nice.
And then Baden also had the
Lime?
no
No, that was when the king of lime or something lived there, didn't he?
linseed oil plant.
Linseed oil.
Very
Sorry, there
large.
was linseed.
Yes, linseed. So that is our version of, for the space that's there, our version of the linseed oil plant.
Yeah.
It was a very big industry.
It sure was. Yeah. The owner had a big house in town too.
Yes. Yes, we didn't model that. In this high hill behind you is actually 3 reverse loops. Not reverse loops, 3 loops.
Loops.
So the layout, the track goes in on 3 different levels, and all they do is loop around and come out the other side. It gave us more running distance between the 2. So the top is actually the reverse loop into the yard, and then these are 2 decks that just come out on the other side of the backdrop.
And of course, we're back over to Lambton on this side.
Yep, Lambton with the stock pens. That's
Maple Leafs.
It's going to be one of the packing plants. We haven't figured out which one at this point. Canada Packers, actually.
Canada?
Yes, we have. Yes, Canada Packers. So there'll be, actually there's some pigs. There'll be lots of stock car traffic and then reefer traffic going back out. This is just a whole placeholder at the moment that needs to be a lot larger. And then right now it's sort of a holder area of structures.
Yeah, structures on top of structures in some places I see here, right?
Yes, we have extra stuff that we need to dispose of or get rid of through sales, I guess.
Yeah. Very nice.
Eventually the Lambton Roundhouse and coaling plant will be in this area. We have plans for both of those. As you can see, there's a fair amount of equipment floating about.
Yep.
And then more extra structures within the yard. The icing platform should be put into use. So this is our sorting tracks for arriving freights.
Yeah.
and carting of cars.
So they classify everything, and then
classify everything.
you build trains there.
Build the trains, and that's the arrival departure tracks area of the trains coming and going in a van track. So trains depart to the west and then come back in, and then they can come down the ladder and eventually go to the roundhouse.
Nice.
This area here is Lambton East. We have Dominion Stores, CIL. Dominion Wood and Coal actually stood at Bayview not Bayview, Mount Pleasant and Eglinton area.
Yes.
But it's such an iconic item in Toronto that we decided to, a scaled down version of what originally was there, but Dominion Coal and Wood, a lot of people will come in and look at that. Oh, I know where that was. Really wasn't in Lambton, but it's a Toronto item, so we did it up.
Yeah.
And then we have our CIL. JT Hepburn was a foundry, and CIL was a very large industry within the Lambton area, industrial area, so we created a nice large structure for that.
Is that full steam ahead components?
Nope, that was
Because the windows are nice and small. Yeah.
yes. No, I can catch you the name of that. I can't think of who they were.
It just was a thought that
It
came
was
to my head.
originally one panel,
Yeah,
and then we just cast a whole bunch of extra panels.
to get the length that you
Yep.
needed.
And it looks really old and really nice.
Yeah, it's really a nice one. Lots happening there.